Alright, so as I had promised before, I'm going to have this lesson which explains the custom versus one-click integrations. Now, if you go into your Dialogflow console, you will actually see that there is a panel called integrations, and if you click on it, it will have all these one-click integrations with like a ton of channels, Facebook Messenger and Slack and Skype and Telegram and Viber and bar. It's just a lot of stuff. You can just see that there's a ton of integrations which Dialogflow provides just out of the box. And if you go to my website, I actually have this page which talks about why a custom integration is better than a one-click integration. And you can see that these are the integrations I was just talking about. You have the web demo, Messenger, Slack, Viber, and Twilio, and so many, right? So one of the reasons people get attracted to Dialogflow in the first place is that it has all these custom integrations. But I think that it is a much better option to build your own integration, and now you know how to do that. I explained like the overview. I gave you an overview of how to do that in the chat apps lesson. So the benefit, actually there are a lot of benefits. The one which is the biggest benefit, which is sort of like you can think of as the topic and the other ones are subtopics, is that you get a lot of flexibility when you choose to build your own custom integration rather than relying on one-click integration provided by Dialogflow. Now you have to understand that if you were to use the one-click integration, your code is running on Dialogflow servers. That is, you don't have any way to access or modify the integration code, the code which actually provides that integration. On the other hand, if you were to create a custom integration, it is the exact opposite, in the sense that you are the one who's responsible for creating, developing and deploying and hosting the code which is doing the integration, which means you have more work to do. On the other hand, that means you can tweak the code as you wish. So this actually ends up giving you a lot of flexibility. So to give you a couple of examples, let's say that you want to pre-process the input the user is sending before you send it across to Dialogflow. Now, why would you want to do that? A good example is right now Dialogflow has no good no good entity which represents regular expressions. So I wrote an article which will provide like a workaround for this, where you effectively modify the user's input so that it's in a format which Dialogflow can understand and turn it into an entity format which is sort of like a consistent entity format. What that allows you to do in turn is that means Dialogflow can on its own identify the entity value, which if you were to do it by yourself by using like a wildcard entity or something will actually cost you a lot of effort, and it's as if you're reinventing the Dialogflow's NLU engine, which you don't want to do. So the input pre-processing is something that you can do, and which means your bot has just got a lot better just because you are able to take the user's input and sort of do a little bit of manipulation of that input before sending it to Dialogflow for intent mapping. And then in the same way, on the converse is that after the output comes back from Dialogflow, you can do output post processing, which means a good example is the custom chatbot, the custom website chatbot that you saw over here. Now, Dialogflow's integrated web demo has a lot of limitations, one of which is that you cannot have these hyperlinks, you cannot have these list controls, and you can't have these bold formatted text and things like that. And you can't customize the top bar over here. There's a lot. So what I was able to do is by using this custom integration, I've got the bot working under the hood. It's still a Dialogflow agent and it's doing all this request response and all that. But once the response comes back, I'm able to do some post processing and then manipulate the output so that it actually is presented to the user in a much better format. So that's one more thing, the output post processing. I've actually come across quite a few more scenarios where the fact that you can use a custom integration will help you build a better bot. Like a good example is, if you want to log your conversation history, if you were to use the one-click integration, you're stuck with doing this conversation history logging from your webhook, which means you're forced to use a webhook even for intents which don't need to. And if you were to use a custom integration, on the other hand, the middleware code can just take the request and response coming back. It can take the response coming back, and then it can log that response to your database, and which means that in turn allows you more flexibility because you're not required to use a webhook just so that you can log the conversation. And then I've seen another example recently where somebody was asking like, hey, is it possible to the context in Dialogflow have an expiration time of like 30 minutes or 20 minutes or something like that. Let's say you want to extend it further, and you want to have, like, let's say your user came back and came to your bot, sent a message to your bot, and it gave a response, right? The same user comes back the next day. The context has generally expired by that point. However, if you were to use a middleware like a custom integration, you can save the last known context, and then you can just fetch that context and reapply it as the context to that particular user, to that particular conversation, which means that it will be as if the user just is starting off where they left the previous day. And you can even use that information to prompt like new questions, and you can do a few things. Like I said, what the one-click integration gives you is ease of use, and you can see everything working very fast, which obviously is like a quick turnaround and instant gratification and all that, which is wonderful. But the custom integration is what allows you to actually build a really powerful chatbot. That is, it will allow you to get around a lot of limitations that Dialogflow inherently has, which means now you have the ability to make your bot do a lot more things than simply using the one-click integration. So with all these taken into account, I think that custom integrations are, even though they involve more effort upfront, but remember, once you put that effort upfront, you don't have to do it over and over. You just have to do it once. So once you get that integration all sorted out, after that, it is possible for you to do like a lot of things which you cannot if you were to use the one-click integrations. So that's why I recommend using custom integrations pretty much in every scenario.